Welcome to another video in my new series, Creating Realistic MIDI Performances, a free class dedicated to helping you make the most out of your sound libraries. So in the last video, we learned a few strategies on how to calculate the number of tracks you're going to need for a given project. So hopefully by now, you've gone and loaded your own selection of sound libraries and have an empty project that looks a little bit like this, with or without the color coding. The next step is to do a little bit of creative problem solving. You see, when an orchestra performs live or is recorded in a studio, all the musicians and instruments are organized in the same physical space together. And this has numerous implications for the sound, like where certain instruments are seated in the stereo field, or how the natural reverb of that space helps blend their sound together. However, individual patches in a library are rarely recorded in the same manner, even if they all belong to the same family of libraries, like Cinestrings and Cinebrass, or Spitfire Albion 1 strings versus brass. The sections are typically recorded one at a time, because it's just too expensive to pay for an entire orchestra to sit in the room when you're only using one section to create a new library. You don't want brass players and woodwind players just getting paid to sit in silence while you record the string section. Unfortunately, this has an impact on their sound, which becomes more and more noticeable with each track you load, especially if you combine different instrument patches from different library collections. Things like the natural reverb, or the room tone, or even the mic positioning of different libraries can all contribute subtle, uncanny qualities when mixed without special consideration. So, to make sure that our sound libraries have the best chance possible of sounding like a cohesive orchestra, we need to learn how to set up things like panning, reverb, mic positioning, and even equalization or EQ to help clean out a bit of muddy room tone as it builds up over time. But before we can do any of that, it's going to be very helpful to take a little bit of time to first properly route all of these tracks that we've loaded. Routing involves setting up various buses in a project to allow your arrangement to be more streamlined and effective. It's a concept you should be familiar with if you've already made your way through my free mixing class that I released a few months ago. It's going to save us a bunch of hours so we don't have to fully mix each and every track loaded into your template. You see, a bus is sort of like a little funnel. It's a signal path that combines multiple individual audio signals into one track, allowing them to be processed and manipulated as a group. In fact, every project in a DAW already has a pre-built stereo out bus. All of these tracks are routed through my stereo out track. If I hit mute here, all of my tracks are muted. If I hit solo, all of them are soloed. If I apply reverb, then all of these tracks are going to suddenly have strong reverb. And that is where this becomes important. You see, eventually we're going to have to address things like reverb and balancing the volume between each of these instruments to make it sound more realistic. And we want to set up multiple different buses to make things like reverb and balancing much easier and much more efficient. And this process involves understanding how many different buses we need and how to route them properly, which is what we will be learning in the rest of this video. The number of buses we need can vary depending on a couple different things. First, you will want a minimum of one bus for every major instrument section in your project. If you went for the doubled up short and long approach that we learned in the last video, you will want at least two. One for short articulations and one for long articulations. Again, the exceptions here being the piano, harp, and percussion, which won't need multiple buses. So things like long or short woodwinds, long and short strings, long and short brass, keyboards, percussions, synths, etc. If there is a category of instrument you are working with, it should probably get its own bus or two. For example, the project we are sequencing in this series uses a traditional orchestra, which contains woodwinds, brass, strings, piano, harp, and percussion. We can combine piano and harp into one instrument section that we'll call keyboards or whatever. So that leaves us with at least 5 different sections. My strings and winds need a long and short bus each. My keyboards and percussion only need one bus each. But there is one additional optional element to consider, and that is if you use multiple different libraries within a specific section, then you can choose to create additional buses to help organize those. For example, here in my woodwinds, I am using a combination of Cinewinds by Musio to perform my solo tracks and Spitfire Studio Winds Professional for my ensemble patches. Creating separate buses for each library is helpful in this situation because the libraries have very different needs. Spitfire Studio Winds is a very dry library, meaning it doesn't contain a lot of reverb. While Cinewinds is a wet library, meaning it contains a lot of natural reverb. The Spitfire library also contains a little extra room tone, which you can see visualized in the lower end of this spectrum analyzer. While my Cinewinds library does not. These differences between the two libraries makes things sound slightly off when they're used together. And eventually, we're going to want to fix those differences to the best of our ability by applying different mixing settings to each library to help them all sound a little more like they were recorded in the same space with the same microphones. Hence, the use of multiple buses makes things much easier for us down the line. But again, as with all these tips, it's optional. You do not disqualify yourself from being able to create a quality mockup if you don't add a couple extra buses. The quality of your performances comes down to a game of averages. How many of these tools can you actually bring in to help? But with that in mind, that brings our grand total of buses needed for this project to at least 8. 2 each from my strings, woodwinds, and brass. Each one getting 1 long bus, 1 short bus. 1 bus each for my keyboards and my percussion. Again, keyboards being piano and harp. Then, optionally, I can create additional buses for individual libraries in my mix. Again, each one getting a long and short bus as necessary. For this project, I will need 10 individual buses, since I want to address my Spitfire libraries in the woodwinds. This is simple enough. We're going to click Add New Track. We're going to select Group Track, make sure that it's set to stereo and not mono, and type in 10. Add tracks. And we find them down here. Next, if you haven't already, I'm going to recommend doing a little bit of color coding to help keep things from getting too hectic. I'm going to name this top group Woodwind Bus Long, and make sure it's the same color as my long woodwinds. Then I'll do Woodwind Bus Short, and do the same thing. Making sure to add additional ones for my woodwind Spitfire, for my Spitfire woodwind long, and Spitfire woodwind short. Do the same with the others, and soon I have a bus named after each major section of my orchestra and the different libraries I want to work with. The next step is to actually organize these buses so they do something. For this, I need to go into my mixing console, which in Cubase can be found up here in Studio, Mix Console, or by pressing F3. I'm going to start by routing my Spitfire libraries. I'm going to click the control button on my keyboard while going through and highlighting each of my Spitfire long libraries. Then I'm going to make sure that this little Q-Link button is turned on before going into the routing tab, finding stereo out, and then instead swapping to the group Spitfire Woodwind Long. And just like that, these 4 libraries are all being routed to my Spitfire Woodwind Long bus. I'm going to do the same thing for the Spitfire Short Woodwind libraries. Control-click on each of my ensemble patches, make sure the Q-Link is turned on, go to Routing, and go to Spitfire Woodwind Short. Boom, just like that. Next, I will repeat the process for each of my solo tracks. Flute 1, Flute 2, Oboe 1, Oboe 2, Clarinet 1, Clarinet 2, Bassoon 1, and Bassoon 2. Each of my long articulation tracks. But I'm not going to stop there, because now I also need to make sure I find my Spitfire Woodwind long articulation, that bus that I just made, I need to make sure that I route that as well. So now I have all of my individual woodwinds and my Spitfire woodwind long bus. Cue link is on, click on stereo out, set it to woodwind bus long, and boom, now they are all routed to woodwind bus long articulations. I'm going to do the same thing one more time for the woodwinds with my short articulations. Flute 1, flute 2, oboe 1, oboe 2, clarinet 1, clarinet 2, bassoon 1, bassoon 2. Make sure that I include my Spitfire short woodwind bus. Cue link is on, stereo out becomes woodwind bus for short articulations. Suddenly, we can see how the buses each have their effect. With everything routed, we can now test and make sure that everything is working. If I go to the Spitfire woodwind long bus and hit mute, pow, all of my Spitfire libraries are muted. If I go to Spitfire woodwind short bus, mute it, pow, all of my short woodwinds controlled by a Spitfire library are now muted. If I go to woodwind bus for just short articulations, boom, all of the short woodwind articulation tracks are muted. And if I go to long, boom, all the long articulations are muted, including the bus. See that? Isn't that cool? If you continue this process and get everything routed, it's going to save you so much time and frustration down the line. So with that, let's take another break so you can go update the project you're using to follow along with the series. Revisit your project and take the time to route each of your tracks appropriately. In the next video, we will continue setting up our DAW by learning more about selecting the proper mic positions and panning to make every instrument sound a little more realistic. If you need a project to practice with, you can purchase the MIDI file and PDF score to the project we're working on in this series for just $5 using the link in the description below. I want to take a quick moment to thank my wonderful patrons, channel members, and generous donors who helped make this new series possible. I appreciate each of you more than you know. You can help support future videos like this by joining as a member or by purchasing one of the ebooks and instructional manuals available on my website. I also offer private lessons on a limited basis. More information can be found with the link below. So until next time, my friends, keep studying, keep working hard, and keep writing new music. I will see you in the next video.